Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is the Chronicles of Apple from the apple of my eye, and I wanted to do this video in regards to some of the celebrity that we have, and we are, for the most part, very convinced that they are really women. So we pattern our lives to kind of like fall in love with them and to be like them, and back in those days, we were never made aware of how many people are actually transgendered in Hollywood. So, for people to understand that they are transgendered, you'd have to know what transgender bodies actually looks like. And I'm going to show you typical male bodies that many of us are forgetting that this is a male body, and we're so used to seeing so many of these celebrities for decades, and we don't see it with our own families, but we see it all the time in Hollywood. And when we watch movies, we assume that those are women because they have long hair, because they've got makeup on, because they're well dressed and they're skinny, and that they got the dashboard abs. So I want you to take a look at a male body. Okay, you can see. Let's take a look at this. I'm gonna use the take a look at the rib cage, the width of that rib cage. Okay, this one doesn't have female breast, right? If you look at the skull, it's big, and you look at the neck, it's wide. That is because the head is heavier for the men, and you can see the ear is at a certain size, right? Now you can see that the clavicle hangs a little bit further out, which is typical male. Their clavicle is slightly longer, and so the arms are more dangly, which makes the arm actually sit right around here. Okay, now what happens is that if, let's say, you take a male like this and you put boobs there, okay, and you see how there's an indentation. The indentation for the male tend to be a little bit lower, a little bit lower. Women, the rib cage would end here, and with men, the rib cage is slightly longer. Okay, so the waist goes further down, the smallest portion of the waist. So if you look at your body, the smallest portion, it goes in. Okay, it goes in and then it goes out. With the men, it's a little bit straighter at the top. Okay, so I'm gonna have you just take a look at Britney Spears, and take a look at this when they're skinny, how the arm, see how thin that is. Okay, now this one doesn't have a fake wig, doesn't have the breast tissue. if if a male body is introduced to estrogen, they will still have this length right here. Okay, the wider rib cage, and they have a bigger lung capacity. Men have a bigger lung capacity. Armpits, look at how skinny that is, and you can see it's very well defined. There are females that when they do heavy workout and yoga, they can have this definition. But in general, this bordering of the armpit is deeper for the male than it is for the female. One thing that estrogen does on a male body is that it smooths out the skin, and they get a little bit of a fatty tissue around the chest area. They can literally grow a size B breast. Okay, and you can see that the torso is long and it's wider here. Okay, women, it would taper down pretty much there, and women, it will be longer. Now if you look at the pelvic region, this is smaller than the shoulder width. Okay, it's also a longer torso from the crown down to here to the sit bones. It's a long torso, whereas the women, it will be shorter. Okay, so this is also a male body. You can see again, it's almost like a straight shot, right? And he's kind of like swiveling to the side. You can see that long clavicle, the dangling arm, and you can see there's barely any curve here, and then it's swinging. It's kind of like cocking the pelvis. So you see that. Okay. But generally speaking, men, you could see that the pelvic is smaller than the actual shoulder. Things happen differently when it's a young transgender body and they transition a child too early. It's gonna look a little bit too juvenile, and the bones and the muscles are not soaked in testosterone as heavily as when they are transgendered at a later age. So I want you to take a look at Britney Spears. Okay. You see how when Britney Spears do you see how straight that is? And do you see how from here, that's the smallest portion of the waist? It's so short. That's a typical boy pelvis. The shortness here, from here to here, sit bones to here. That is a very short pelvis. It's a longer crown to pubic bone. We're gonna watch Britney Spears make some moves. Okay, I'll show you another male body. Okay, see how this is wider than this. Okay, see how this is the elbow and that's the waist. Females would dent in, and this will not be as wide. This is a long torso. Okay, so when they talked about the Revenge of the Nerds, this is what I'm thinking of. When they pull out people like Britney Spears, just take a look at this. This is Sharon Stone. Okay, do you see a male skull there? It just looks like a boy. The ears, the brow ridge, and a male with a lipstick. Big hands, okay? And see how wide. We're looking at how wide that is, okay? Let's go back to, did I have more Britney Spears here? I'll show you an example of a skinny female. A skinny female, I know this person very well. See how it dips, okay? See how small. When a female is tiny, look at how small that is, okay? Look at how small that is, okay? Again, you can see the male still has that indent there, but the female, take a look at that. It goes in, and this is a very skinny person, very tiny. Okay, look at how wide the shoulder is and how much it goes in, okay, compared to him. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. You can take a look at your body. I'm going to go over more of Britney Spears in actual motion. Okay, Faith Hill, take a look at what's going on with the size of the ears, the massive neck, the male brow ridge, the male nose. Okay, the nose is shortened to make it look more feminine. Okay, but look at that. It just gives up that male physique. So I'm going to show you Britney Spears in motion. Okay. You see that? I remember the first time I looked at Britney Spears and I was like, wow, what a great move. But I was like, wow, her body is kind of very young, I thought. And that is because I'm not seeing much curve happening with Britney Spears. And she was really like maybe 15 or something, but there is just no feminine curves there. Okay? You've got the big head, the male skull. Now, I don't know if this is a male or a female either, okay? So, okay. Take a look at that. That's a short pelvis. Look at how straight that is. There is no curving happening. It is a long torso and a short pelvis. And what I mean by a short pelvis is that the female, from the smallest portion of the waist down, that's long, okay, from the sit bones. So the sit bones are here with the sit bones, okay. And if we sit, it's from here to there, from here to there. With the male, what ends up happening is they have a shorter pelvis, and that's what you're seeing right there, okay. And I thought this was quite interesting. She has a ball, okay. One thing that Britney Spears have at this age is a shorter shoulder, which is not quite anymore. You don't see Britney with a short shoulder. When they're 15, it is a lot easier to mimic the female body than when they turn 35, because there's another surge of testosterone that happens in the 30s, which is why they have to have this pregnancy around that age. Because if in their late 20s and they start to hit 30s and they start to blow up like a man, they have to have an excuse to say, oh no, this is a woman because Britney Spears is a baby, okay? And Britney Spears' baby actually most likely came from the Philippines because of the one song she has, You Want a Piece of Me. And in that video, you will see like different people, that blonde girls that are kind of like the double for Britney. So they will have real female as a double. When you put makeup on a guy, it can make it look very, very feminine. I wanted to show you. Okay. There are different Britney, but do you see, if you were to remove the boobs there, do you see how wide this is? This is the pelvis, this is the shoulder. Shoulder is wider than the pelvis. And this is pretty straight here. How they get that, they can do rib removal, but generally speaking, Britney has a big rib cage. Okay, I don't know if you could tell there. Okay, if you remove the breast, you can see how wide this rib cage is. This is a very fit person, so not a whole lot of fat, but this is how neat. It's a muscular. Okay. It's a very fairly straight. I don't know if this is really her though. This is to show you. Okay, again, you can see this short. Women are not that short when it comes down to sitting. If you were to copy this same position, so if I were to bend down on my knees, so this here, you observe that on a man, but because we're looking at a bikini, we assume that this is a female. Look at the width of that rib cage and the length from the crown down. That's a long torso. Okay, so if a female were to do that, if you were to do that, you will see that it's very long. Women are longer here, okay? So these are just some things that you would observe. We're seeing a lot of these body figure, and this is not a real female. This is not a real female. That is a very short, it's the structure of the women. We do not have short pelvis. Okay, we do not have long torso. The rib cage, the ending of the rib cage is going to make that move in. And what we're seeing is that we see this big chest on top of the big rib cage. And we're assuming that that is correct. I was looking at, you could see the version of Jennifer Lopez. I don't see it right now. Okay. Look at how big, look at how straight that back is. And how wide the actual chest the rib cage. Okay, and then they put the breast in there. That is wide. It's a massive shoulder. There are certain exercises they have to do. Women generally, it's a smaller rib cage, but with them, they put the breast and the bigger side. Most likely with J-Lo, there's rib removals. Okay, which is why it looks so, it's like, wow, it looks so strong and confident. Okay, but it's really, really strong. It's a strong male back and rib cage. Anyway, I'm going to end it right here. Thank you and God bless.